I thought, oh my God, look, the tree going into my car.
Right now at noon, cleaning up after powerful storms, trees down, power outages and flooding, just some of the problems people are facing today. These storms are having a trickle-down effect at our airports. Delays and cancellations piling up. What you need to know before heading out today if you're traveling. And we're not done with the rain just yet. The remnants of Tropical Storm Debby now heading our way. John Elliott tells us when and what we can expect. Good afternoon to you on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Chris Raggi now on CBS News New York, on air and, of course, streaming. Right now at noon, the tri-state area recovering from the first of a two-punch weather hit. Strong storms knocking down trees and causing flooding on some of the busiest roadways in our area, and more is on the way as of what's left of Debby moves north. We've got live team coverage. John Elliott looking ahead at what's coming next. Shosh Bedrosian is live where a huge tree crushed a car in the Bronx. But let's start in Madison, New Jersey with Nick Calloway. Nick?
Well, yeah, it's a mess here in Madison, Chris. We saw dozens of trees down on roadways and homes across town. Behind me here was a very close call. You could see that large tree limb snapped off and fell into the roadway and into a resident's front yard around 5 p.m. yesterday. If you look closely over here to this debris, there's a black SUV that was crushed by the falling tree. The homeowner here told me just a little while ago he had just gotten out of that car a few minutes before the chaos started.
I'm sitting on the porch. I had just pulled in the driveway about 2 minutes earlier, got out of the car as the rain started to fall, got up on my porch, and then it really started to come down. Then the wind started to whip through. And the next thing you know, I hear a loud snap. I watch the tree kind of fall. I'm hoping it doesn't take the wires out and land on my car, and it did both.
Now, just under a mile away over on Park Avenue, this large tree was snapped like a twig and came down on the roof of that home. The homeowner there told me there is significant damage to the roof, but luckily everyone is okay. I just heard from the mayor here in the borough of Madison. He said there are still about 180 people here in town without power. Of course, crews are working hard to try to get everybody back up and running, but luckily the mayor told me just a little while ago that there were no serious injuries that have been reported. We are live in Madison, New Jersey. Nick Calloway, CBS News, New York.
Okay, Nick, thanks. Let's go over to Bergen County now, where this woman was seen walking through ankle-deep water in Hackensack. Cars also tried driving through the flooded streets there. You can see water up to the headlights in cars. Remember, it's always safer to turn around and not drive through water that deep. Hackensack saw almost 3 inches of rain. And in Bayside, Queens, a large tree snapped and fell on top of this Toyota. Happened on 204th Street and 35th Avenue. You can see the tree split, landing right on the roof of that car. Bayside recorded 1 to 2 inches of rain in that area. And a large tree came crashing down in the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx as a result of last night's storm. CBS New York's Shosh Bedrosian is at the scene on Claflin Avenue in West 195th Street, where you can see the extent of the damage behind her. Shosh, how's it going this noon?
Well, the question several people woke up and asked themselves is, was this my car underneath this tree that fell over? As you can see, this tree was completely uprooted from the sidewalk here, toppling over the street, completely impassable, closing it down and damaging several vehicles here. Luckily, no one was injured, but residents say they've been sounding the alarm about the condition of this tree for years.
But it didn't sound like how it sounds like in the movies. It was just like, sounded like somebody was dragging something across the ground and then like dropped it.
Residents on Claflin Avenue had no idea this massive tree came crashing down around 9 p.m. Tuesday night.
It's completely unreal. I mean, this block does tend to have like a lot of trees come down.
But what many of them will tell you is that it doesn't come as a surprise.
You see the concrete, how it's uplifted. It's been like that for nearly 20 years before I got to this block.
That's an old tree. That tree, I knew it was going to come up anytime because the roots and stuff.
A handful of residents tell CBS News New York they've complained about this tree for years. They say the roots were already uplifting from the sidewalk before it toppled over and damaged 3 vehicles.
Had I been there like 2 more minutes, I probably would be under that tree right now.
This man tells us he was lucky enough to get a parking spot on this busy street and was bringing in his groceries last night. 2 minutes later, he says his life was spared, but is now dealing with damage to his car.
It just makes me appreciate life a lot more, you know, because literally, like I said, 2 minutes, I was just lollygagging in the passenger seat, and that's the side that the tree fell on.
The city was on scene this morning assessing how to remove this tree from the street, and we've reached out to the Parks Department for comment in regards to the history of the tree and the complaints the residents say they've made with the department, and we're still waiting to hear back. We're live in Kingsbridge, the Bronx. I'm Shosh Bedrosian, CBS News, New York.
Shosh, thank you. And here's a live look from Teterboro, New Jersey. Right now, all lanes of Route 17 are closed because of flooding there. All morning, this has caused massive traffic tie-ups and delays for commuters. No word yet on when it's expected to reopen. Now to a live look from Manhattan at this hour. This camera covered with rain droplets. As you can see right now, the heavy stuff has moved out of the area. But John Elliott now here with us to tell us about more rain in the forecast on top of the cleanup already going on out there, John.
But how about the guy who was moments away from possibly being crushed?
Yeah.
You know what? Let that be a lesson. Situational awareness. You have to be mindful of what's going on around you. This is a real quick snapshot of how much rain fell. That's about 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches. This corresponds with 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain there in parts of Westchester, up into the Bronx, and over in the North Shore, and parts of Bergen County, where we have residual problems at 5.79 inches of rain. So you can see to the north big numbers on the island, some record rain totals, 1.6 a record for Bridgeport, Islip 2. Around town, big numbers in the city. And when you compound that with all of the cement and all the busy roadways, yeah, it was a nightmare. And I like the way Chris put it, a 1-2 punch. 1 is done, 2 on the way. This is not Debbie. This is just a little leftover moisture. Dew points are low. Temperatures are low. It feels so much more comfortable. Debbie now is a strengthening storm, more energy as it made the dive out, and now it's coming back on board. Coming up on our full forecast, we'll time out the arrival of the remnants and also talk about the wind and then the sunshine. Right now, they'll send it right back to Chris.
Okay, John, thank you. Some people are still dealing with power outages following the storm. JCP&L has the most. More than 4,700 customers are affected. PSE&G reports less than 150. Rockland and Orange County down to 2. Con Ed shows nearly 200 customers experiencing issues. And PSEG Long Island is down to just 34 folks with power issues at this point. To the airports, this is a live look at Newark Liberty. We're still tracking plenty of delays and cancellations for travelers. For Newark, there are close to 120 delays, more than 80 cancellations. Live look at LaGuardia. Right now, they're dealing with more than 110 delays and 90 cancellations. And finally, rounding out the trifecta, JFK, currently about 160 delays and more than 60 cancellations. So rough day at the airport, as you can imagine. Rain also causing some issues in Nassau County, where people are advised to stay out of the water at 15 beaches. Stormwater runoff can impact the water quality and increase bacteria levels. 1 beach on the South Shore, 15 on the North Shore are affected. The health department says the advisory should be lifted by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And as this system moves out of our area, officials in Hempstead are preparing for what's next. Potential impacts from Tropical Storm Debby as it makes its way up the East Coast. Our cameras captured some people tying up their boats in Lido Beach. Officials said that's exactly the kind of thing residents should be doing right now before the worst hits.
We are going to have flooding. We are expecting trees and coming down to some level. All those low-lying areas, when you've seen the flooding in the past, you should expect it again.
The remnants of Debby could bring several inches of rain to the area in the coming days. With that said, right now, Tropical Storm Debby churning over the Atlantic off the Carolinas and Georgia. This is a live picture from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The storm continues to dump heavy rain over the area, and it's expected to get stronger, causing more problems for the East Coast. Christiane Benavidez reports on the aftermath.
So it was a real loud boom, and it rocked the house.
Shakina Conyers told us she and her 4 children woke up Tuesday with a downed tree in their home as Tropical Storm Debby slammed Savannah with powerful winds and up to 10 inches of rain.
It's overwhelming, of course, because this is me and my kids' livelihood.
The heavy rains turned roads into rivers across coastal Georgia as Debby churned northeast with as much as 25 inches of rain expected by Friday in parts of the Carolinas. This was the scene in Charleston, where floodwaters covered neighborhood streets and front yards.
We're confident there's going to be flooding. We're confident there's going to be a lot of rain. The only question is how much is it going to be?
In Florida, where Debby made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane Monday, Natalie Haney was cleaning up after the storm tore the roof off of her mother's florist shop.
And so we've got ceiling tiles are falling through and the floor tiles are coming up, and floors are soaking wet. So everything's pretty much ruined inside.
Debby also spawned at least 2 tornadoes in South Carolina, leaving behind a trail of destruction.
All right, I'm 6'1". We got about 2.5 feet.
Military veteran Curtis Drafton, a North Carolina resident, said he came down to Charleston to help people in flood-prone areas.
We had 17 distress calls just by walking the streets. Low water rescue, thankfully, so we walked the majority of them out. We only had one lady we used the raft on.
We're about 80 miles inland here in Lumberton, North Carolina. This community was left underwater in 2016 and 2018 due to hurricanes. Officials here not taking any chances. They're reinforcing this earth wall ahead of heavy rainfall. North Carolina is under a state of emergency. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Lumberton, North Carolina.
And stay with CBS News New York for the very latest as we continue to track the remnants of Debby. On our website, you can see the latest radar and track the storms in your neighborhood. It's all there at cbsnewyork.com.